Hey everybody, this is Kyle with Attack of the Fanboy. I'm here at E3 2016. Just got to check out Obduction. Here with Chris Doyle, the director of new experiences for Cyan. How's E3 been for you guys? We're kind of away from the show floor here, checking out the game.
A little quieter, a little calmer. Yeah. The show's been great. It's been a lot of fun. I've been meeting a lot of great people, a lot of fans, and it's just good to be able to get the game out there more and show it off more, and especially since this is the first time we're showing the VR version. So It's been really exciting having people try that out, and it's been a great response.
So can you kind of give the background of Obduction? I mean, this was on Kickstarter, and it has a very solid pedigree. So let everybody know what that is and what the history of this game is.
Well, Cyan made Myst and Riven, some classic adventure games, and this game is kind of being billed as a spiritual successor to Myst and Riven. So it's a first-person exploration, puzzle-solving game. It's a slower pace than maybe a lot of games that are out there now, and that's totally intentional. So it's all about being immersed in these amazing, mysterious new worlds, and that's kind of the setup for the game. Really, you're just like in Myst. You don't know why you're there at first, and it's kind of meant to be a little, incredibly mysterious and maybe a little disorienting, but being plopped in a strange new world, and just kind of, the story just unfolds as you explore through it.
Yeah, and I mean, that I saw in the demo that I was trying out, where there were these stations that kind of fed story to me, but it was still very mysterious. It has a mysterious vibe to it, and I was asking you a lot of what's this shimmer off in the distance? You're like, that's part of the game. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's right.
Of course, with this being, a spiritual successor to Myst and Riven, there are puzzles. What kind of puzzles can players expect from the game?
The puzzles are maybe compared to, the original Myst it was definitely known for its puzzles, some harder than others, and some of those could come across maybe a little bit in the abstract. We've worked a lot, we've learned a lot from that original game, and have, a lot of the puzzles you come across are very much more, I want to call them environmentally based. They kind of fit into the game a little more. They're not just some kind of arbitrary puzzle thrown in there necessarily, but it all makes sense within the world we've created, and they tie in very much with the the story that you start learning.
Yeah. What kind of environments can players expect? I mean, I was in two different demos, and it was very different environments. So what are we looking at here?
Yeah, the environments are we have a number of fairly large, expansive worlds to explore for a puzzle-solving adventure exploration game.
Yeah.
And so we have three large worlds, as well as a number of smaller ones that you can experience, and they're all, as you said, very distinct from each other. Just in the two you saw, and the other ones that are there that you didn't see yet, all have a incredibly unique visual style, and as well as the audio too. As far as the audio goes, that's all being composed by one of the original co-creators of Myst, as well. It's two brothers that started it and made Myst. So
yeah.
The other brother is still the head of Cyan. He's the creative director on this project, and also does a lot of the game development too. And we all wear a lot of hats there. But the music goes really well too. Different styles for the different worlds.
It really, really did. That was immediately apparent when the game loaded up, was just how the music enhanced the experience. But on top of that, I mean, I played on PC, but I also played in VR.
Mm-hmm.
How has it been working with VR, and how has that changed the game itself?
We knew we were doing VR from the start because of the Kickstarter. It was a stretch goal to do the Oculus Rift, and this want to say that was almost 3 years ago now, I think, for the Kickstarter. It's been quite a while. So, none of the other VR platforms had been announced. The Rift was out there in very early stage. So it's been really helpful knowing that we've been doing a Rift version right from the start. We've been able to design the game with both concerns in mind, and really design to their strengths and work around their limitations. VR is incredibly challenging right now. There's a lot of puzzle solving involved just in that. A lot of R&D needs to be done, a lot of experimenting, but it's great. The community's small enough now that there's so many people trying different things, and you can learn what other people have done, and try to build on top of that. So. We've kind of trying to take the best of what we see working and things we've tried, and put that in there for the VR game. And I think it comes across pretty well. Especially this kind of game is really incredibly suited for VR. Being slower and just there's so much of the game experience is not so much about it being a game per se, but just being in these amazing immersive worlds and just kind of getting lost in them.
Yeah, that was like the first 2 or 3 minutes of my time, especially in the VR version, was just kind of like looking around. I'd walk up to a cliff and I'm like, I gotta peek over the cliff and see what's down there. And that's a big part of it. And you guys, did VR change the way that you built these environments, where you have to get into more detail and you have to find these nooks and crannies where players might look, whereas on the PC, if you walk up to an edge, that's what you see. So how was that a big impact for you guys?
It's a fine line to balance there. We wanted to allow VR players, we wanted to build it in a way where if you because of the positional tracking of VR, you can get very close to things and look above or below objects. So we definitely built with that in mind, but we don't require that. You don't have to. The design doesn't need you to do that, and that's specifically because it needs to. It's a PC version too, so PC players, wouldn't be able to do some of those things that you can do in VR. And vice versa. We didn't want to have a lot of any kind of camera movement necessarily, because PC players could handle that fine. But VR, you don't want to move the camera around.
Get a little sick
if it's
sometimes.
not camera controlled. Exactly. So it's definitely a balancing act between the two, but. We wanted to make the best experience possible for VR, but it's fully just as can be experienced just as well on the PC.
Yeah, along those same lines, like in this VR space, there's so much experimentation, and from what you've told me during the demo, it seems like you guys are going with an options, way where you have the nodes. Can you talk about how the nodes work in VR and what sort of options players also have?
Sure. Yeah, VR, since everyone is different, what feels better or not is very subjective. So we, trying to find a one-size-fits-all solution just doesn't really work, I think, for VR at this point. In the early days of VR. So we have a lot of options available to the players. So as the default, the VR version will be very comfortable. It's very easy, pretty seamless to move around. I think you noticed that when you were playing.
Yeah. And that's where the default is the nodes, where you you see a spot and you press forward, and that's where you teleport to it.
That's right. Yeah, you see locations that you can move to, and it kind of gives you a nice indicator not only of where you can move to, but when you see that, it reduces the disorientation. So when you go and move, you see exactly ahead of time where you're going to be, and that matters a lot in VR. And we don't turn your head either. That's all up to you where you want to be looking. So where you are looking when you move forward, that's where you go. And all the nodes in the game are hand placed. They're not done programmatically. So we can fine tune all those to be very very specifically put in the world to make it feel as natural as it can. And moving around that way just feels really comfortable. That's an option, and then we also have multiple options that you can access either through a menu, or we're going to allow on the gamepad to switch those on the fly as well. So you can really tailor it as you go, and get the kind of experience that you want. You can switch very easily into a free movement mode. If you're a more advanced player, If if you're immune or you've become tolerant to the way moving around is in VR.
VR experts. There's
Yeah,
a few
VR
out
experts,
there. Yeah.
exactly. VR legs. So that's a complete option. You can do that. We offer, sometimes people call it a comfort mode, where when you go to rotate, it kind of snap turns you.
Yep.
So
That's
that's
how
in
it
there
was
too.
for me, yeah.
That's completely there, and we're going to allow you to even override that if you want. We might have to put a nice warning sticker on that option, so just to make sure people know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
But you could have full unlimited control if that's how you want to play it in VR.
That's great. So this is PC, Mac, and Oculus Rift, correct?
Yes, PC, Mac, and Oculus Rift at launch.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when's the launch frame looking like?
Our launch is July 26th, so it's
Pretty soon.
Yeah, it's pretty soon, and it's been really exciting, and we'll see how it goes. But it's really fun having something that's can be played in VR and non-VR. It's really, I think, going to be nice. So again, going back to that customization option too, someone can, if they have a VR setup and they like that, and for whatever reason they decide they just don't want to play it in VR, that they can definitely do that too. The VR version will be available at launch on the Oculus Store.
Okay. So if you want to play in VR, you need to buy it on Oculus Home, or does the Steam version, if there is a Steam version?
At launch, if you want the VR version, you'll want to buy it on the Oculus Store.
Home.
Yeah.
Okay, it's good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else that you can think of that we haven't discussed for Obduction?
I can't think of anything else.
Okay.
It's been really great having you here and trying it out, and it's always fun having people demo the game, and for me, even more so, when people try it out in VR, because it seems like it comes across really well, and it's just nice to see people's reactions to actually being in these worlds. So yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.